Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new temporary home of the Solo Survivor Recap. So, all right, guys, this is Jeff, and I am doing the Survivor Recap. Survivor Season 32 just started. Episode 1 has gone up. Episode 2 should be coming out today if I plan when this goes up properly, and I'm going to start out here with nothing, coming out of my own little Survivor Island in order to do this recap. Now, just like in Survivor, I'm coming in from a boat, going straight to a land, pretty much with nothing. Now, unfortunately, this season, I don't have anybody with me. I haven't done the Survivor recap in a couple of Survivors. That squid just took over my boat, but that's okay. Not many, Good and MC have been unable to do the recap with me, and I decided through some persuasion by you guys, as well as the desire to want to, that I'm going to do a solo Survivor recap and see how that actually goes. But I wanted to set it to some background of some type. So this is like the temporary home of the Survivor recap, because I'm not sure this is going to be what lasts. I have a couple ideas in mind, but for now, we're just going to start off here on the Minecraft vanilla server, and I've gotten rid of all my stuff. As you can see, I just got the things that I just picked up, and we are going to start surviving. Now, this year, Survivor, yet again, is bringing back what they did a couple seasons ago with the beauty versus brains versus brawn. And I will tell you, I am a fan of when they start out with 3 tribes or 4 tribes even, instead of just 2. I really like that. I don't think the beauty, brawn, brains thing has been outplayed yet. It's only happened one other time before, and we've already seen people come back from those on seasons that had other people on it. Like you had Spencer that came back from the brains tribe and things like that. A lot of people have come back from that particular season, and I think it's a really cool premise, and I really like it, and I really like how they started at the beginning. They made basically no qualms about exactly what was going on with the fact that that's the way that they split up these tribes this time, whereas last time I think they kind of had to figure it out on their own, if I remember appropriately. And when they were trying to figure it out, sometimes it was a little bit difficult because they didn't really know what they were in for. And this time it just kind of came straight out with it and told them like exactly like, this is a beauty tribe, brains tribe, and brawn tribe. And we'll get into a little bit more demographics of that in just a minute. But this season, I was so excited to see that it started out with something I haven't seen in a while. And granted, I might just not remember the beginning of some of the seasons, but they started out on a boat. And then he gave them 2 minutes when the boat was there with their individual boats, when the tribes all split up and had to go on their own. And they had these 2 minutes to basically gather a bunch of supplies from the remains of the ship and everything that they could get their hands on. They had to get their hands on. Now, I love it when they do things like that in the season. Like one of the seasons, they actually gave them a certain amount of money and had them go to a little village, and they got to buy whatever they wanted. I was not as big of a fan of that one because somebody ended up being like able to speak the language, whereas nobody else could. And that person struck these ridiculous deals with some of the vendors and things like that. And they were like, here, I'll give you this necklace that I am wearing that's probably cost like $6 or something like that. And you're going to give me all of the barbecued food that you just did and your grill and blah, blah, blah. It was really strange the way that they split that one up. So this one, everybody more or less has an even chance to get whatever they want to get because you only have one small pool that you're actually pulling from. Of course, chaos ensues and people are like fighting over things. Not as much as I thought, but they did fight over things a little bit. Chickens were getting loose and people were diving in the water going after these chickens. It was pretty awesome. But I will say, they really didn't focus on what the tribes had gotten out of this ship too much. And I really wanted to see them like fight a lot more and show people having big scuffles over things, and maybe it didn't happen, but I will still tell you, after watching the entire first episode, I am not 100% certain what all the tribes came away with. I know there's some chickens around and things like that. Hello, sheepy. That there's some chickens and things like that around, but I'm not 100% certain on if anybody got anything that was really, really cool and out of the ordinary, because they really didn't focus on it too much. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if anything comes and plays out from all of that in the future as the episodes progress on. But either way, basically that happens pretty near the beginning, right at the beginning, and they all get on their boats and start heading toward their own little tribal islands. And of course, it splits into the, showing off of the tribes and all starting to make shelters and things like that. And I will tell you, it actually seems like a lot of the teams are doing extremely well together and extremely good at, kind of coming together and starting to try to make a shelter and try to make fire. But of course, you always have, I wish I knew the people's names a little bit better, because it's just the first episode, so I'm just getting to know who these characters are. So I apologize that I'm not going to have all the names right, but I can just tell you about the specific people. Well, either way, let's get into the Brawn tribe itself. The Brawn tribe, I did not get to write down the guy's name, but they have the professional bodybuilder. It's a female professional bodybuilder. Darnell, who's a postal worker. You have Alicia, who is a real estate agent, and this one I'll come back to in just a moment. But so you have Alicia, the real estate agent. You have Jenny, who is a construction worker. You have a guy that I don't know why I didn't write down his name, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But either way, he played for the NBA for many, many years. And you have this other dude who's a bounty hunter. Now, the bounty hunter looks like he's going to be a badass. I am excited to watch the bounty hunter go at this thing, because he's some crazy tattoo-ridden guy. Obviously, he's strong. So it's going to be... I didn't get any meat from those rabbits. That was annoying. He's obviously going to be really, really strong and really able to help the team out, as well as the NBA player. Let's go back to Alicia for a minute here. Alicia is this random skinny blonde chick who's a real estate agent who is on the Brawn tribe. I was looking at this and I was really confused. I will be honest at why she was on this tribe. And at first I really didn't think too much of it, because you quickly then jump over into the beauty tribe, which has Nick, who's a personal trainer. And Nick is, I don't understand the ladies, I guess, but I did not think Nick was a super attractive dude. And I'm more than willing to admit when people are attractive looking guys, or I'd be like, oh man, I'd love to look like that guy, because that guy probably is really the ladies all love that guy. He looked more kind of like an average guy with kind of a weird face to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I asked Julia during it. I was like, is this guy a hot guy? And she actually said, well, he's not hot, but he's a good looking guy. So that gave him a little bit more credit than I actually expected. So maybe my understanding of what the females think is hot is a little bit off, which probably very true that is the case. So I don't know, maybe he really is this good looking guy, who knows exactly. But either way, he starts out at the beginning of this, and I can't remember if they were I think they were still on the boat at this time, fighting over all the supplies, and he's just going on and on about how attractive of a guy he is, and how everybody is gonna, of course, flock to him because he's got such a pretty face, and oh my god, oh, my face is so beautiful, and oh, my body's so good, the women are gonna be all over me. And I was like, come on, dude, shut it. And I'm sure part of it was for ratings, but it was a little bit ridiculous, because I just don't see, he's not what I would consider this hot dude. So I don't know, but either way, you got him over there. You got Michelle, who's a young bartender. She's a cute girl for sure. Caleb is some guy who, good looking guy. I would definitely admit that Caleb is a good looking guy. Hi, buddy. And he turns out was a contestant on Big Brother, and I've never watched Big Brother. I watched one episode of Big Brother. I take that back. I don't want to be a complete liar. And it was not a season that Caleb was on. Not that I dislike the show or dislike the premise. I just have not had a chance to see it. And so I didn't immediately know. But a lot of the contestants, a lot of the survivors were like, I think that guy was on Big Brother. They recognized him pretty regularly. Or pretty easily. So if he was trying to keep that a secret, it did not stay a secret for very long, because he even came out and said it, but I think he only came out and said it because he thought people already knew that he was on there, which he was right. He would have gotten found out soon enough. But either way, he's on there. His chick Anna's on there, who's a pro poker player, who talks about she's the type of girl who, if she sees some guy checking out a rack, she will push the girls up a little bit more, make them look a little closer, so it distracts them. So I like her personality and her attitude, and her body, of course. But she's got the right mindset for this. It's like, hey, you got the assets, use them to your advantage. So I'm all about her. I think she's gonna go really well on this tribe. And then you got Julia, who just is a college student, college student. That was all there is to her. I don't know much more about her backstory, but that is what she is. And I'm going to get this guy out of here. I'm going to be building my shelter. I just wanted to take care of that zombie before he came and got me. Building my shelter as I talk about this episode. Because you know what? First thing I got to do is I got to get supplies, shelter, fire, water. Water's not going to be a big problem in this game, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. So getting all the stuff. But anyways, you got Julia, the college student. But then you got the last guy in this team is Ty. Ty is some old Vietnamese. I can't even say, I don't know how old he is, but he's an older Vietnamese dude. And you look at him and you're like, that's interesting that this guy is on the beauty tribe. But he doesn't leave much to the imagination from the very beginning. He straight up, from the get-go, says, hey, I'm Ty. I'm some old Vietnamese guy with a big head and a tiny body. And I'm on the beauty tribe. And you guys might be asking yourself, why is that? He's like, I don't really know. They put me on this tribe. And I pretty much have absolutely, I'll be the first to tell you, I have absolutely no idea why I'm on this tribe. Now, mix the fact that this guy, Ty, is on the beauty tribe, who does not look like a beautiful person by any stretch of the imagination, and who fully admits that he probably shouldn't be on this tribe, and he's a little bit confused at why he's on this tribe. And then you see Alicia, the blonde real estate agent who's sitting on the Brains tribe, who not only is she just, you know, your typical brainy people aren't like these super attractive people, and that's just stereotyping, but especially for the sake of, you know, Survivor and the way that they are splitting up contestants for these things, they're not going to put this like supermodel type of looking girl on the Brains tribe because she's a brainiac. They would have put her on like the beauty tribe, in my opinion. So I'm looking at this and kind of wondering, and Julia's in the same boat as I am, is it almost looks like that there's one person from each tribe that kind of belongs on a different tribe. So I'm going to kind of wait and see how that plays out through the season, because I kind of expected something about that to come out near the end of the episode, and nothing was ever said. So I'm not sure if I'm just off base with this assumption and thought process, or why they would even do that, because you'd think if you put a tribe full of really smart people, and a tribe full of beautiful people, and a tribe full of really burly and, you know, brawn people together, and then you had just one outcast, your assumption is that that outcast is going to be cast out. I mean, essentially, it's going to be the person who does not fit in with the rest of the group. And most often circumstances, people who kind of have the same, you know, look or mind or build are going to be people who have similar styles that are going to, you know, work together better. They're going to have the same thought processes. They're going to like click. And you're kind of almost setting somebody up for failure. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what was going on or not, because so I'm not 100% wrapping my mind around why I think they would have set up a scheme to do something like that and have one random outcast. So either way, where else this goes a little bit wrong with this theory is over on the Brains tribe. I can't really figure out who exactly doesn't belong. Julia has her opinion on it, but I'm not 100% buying it. But either way, the Brains tribe, you got an ER Dr. Peter, and I think that guy's going to be awesome because not only, you know, my emergency medicine for the win, but he's an ER doc. He's like a dude who's on Survivor. He's like, oh my god, I want to be like this dude, even though I'm not a doctor. He looks like President Obama, though. He definitely could win an Obama lookalike contest, and he even brings up the fact that, you know, he gets the Obama thing all the time. And one of the other contestants, first thing she says is she walks up to him and she's like, when did the president get on Survivor? Like, as a joke, obviously. She knew he wasn't the president, I think. She is in the Brain tribe, so hopefully she knows better than that. But either way, he talks about looking like the president, and he gets that all the time, and he's under the impression that, hey, if that helps me win this game for some odd reason, hey, more power to me. So you got him, you got Liz, who's a data analyst. She had some really weird long title that they flashed by the screen, and I was just like, okay, that was too much to even write down. But Liz is some data analyst. You got Debbie, who is I first really connected with Debbie when she started going through what her background is. She's from the Air Force, which I'm not from the Air Force. She's a captain in the U.S. Air Force. I'm not like military or anything like that. But she has a slew of different things that she is just like partaking in. She lists off. She's basically like a jack of all trades on paper type of deal. Just partakes in so many different things. And it's funny because she introduced herself as this person from the Air Force, but she's really like a captain in the Air Force. But really, like what her job is right now, she's a chemist. So she's an extremely intelligent person, and I was not expecting the chemist part to come out of the whole Air Force captain part, but I don't know, maybe to be a chemist in the Air Force, you have to be a captain. I'm not really sure how that whole thing works, but either way, she's kind of a jack of all trades, but she is quickly lost my appeal as somebody that I kind of was like, oh, I can connect with this woman. She is one of those people that is going out and basically telling everybody that she knows how to do everything and she's going to do it better than you, and listen to her, and really, really annoying and just won't shut up. And she very quickly starts to rub the tribe the wrong way, and I can understand why. Like, she's making Survivor 101 mistakes. Like, you don't go in and tout how much better than everybody you are, especially when one of the things that she was talking about being so much better than was making fire. And she was almost like telling people, this is the process for making fire, and this is what you should do. And as somebody who was obviously stronger than her, like, grabbed the stuff and started to try to make the fire following her direction and her lead. And she's like, you know, I know how tiring this is, so you're gonna get tired. So if you want me to do it, I'll just do it, because, you know, I know how bad it is, and I'm better than you in every way. So I'm gonna go for it and do this, and like, I'm gonna be a hero here. She neglects to make fire at all the entire time during the first day. Like, they don't get fire, and I'm not 100% certain it's her fault, because they only really glanced on that for a little bit, and I was surprised. Like, they didn't want to make like a bigger deal. They do bring it up again later in the show about the fact that they talk about how she talked about the fact that she can make fire and didn't end up making fire, but they really didn't dwell on it too much, and I was kind of shocked. But hopefully, I don't know. I can't quite get a feeling on Debbie yet, because I think she's just a nut job who thinks she's better than everybody, and I think she's gonna just get everybody pissed off. Whoa, boy. Get everybody really pissed off as this show progresses, and that's kind of what I'm waiting to see. But anyways, after her, you got a guy who runs an ice cream business, and that's really about all I know about this guy. He runs an ice cream business. You got Aubrey, who is a social media marketing person, and she also is like a crybaby. But I'm not 100% certain if she had an episode, during the episode, she had an episode where she really just like broke down and basically didn't know if she could take it anymore, and wanted to cry and wanted people to help her, and was, you know, physically dehydrated, and like whether it was actually dehydration or if she's just kind of like a nut, I have absolutely no idea. But I guess time will tell with her. But then you have Joe, the former FBI agent, and I think Joe fits in. He's an older guy. He's like in his 70s, and he used to be an FBI agent, and I think Joe fits into this tribe pretty well. I think being an FBI agent and being like who he is and what he's doing and the shape that his body is still in and everything, I think he fits very well in the Brains tribe. Granted, he could be over on Brawn. So that's Julia thinks that he's the misplaced guy over on the Brains tribe, but I'm not 100% certain I quite buy that one yet. But like I said, time will tell on if that is actually going to be the, I should probably make some torches, if that even plays a fact in anything at all, or if we're just completely like missing the point and overthinking this thing that's not even true. It very well could be. But either way, so basically we start out the episode and they do the whole boat thing. They get to their beaches. You kind of throughout the next, 25 minutes, half an hour or so, you start getting to know these people and seeing like trials and tribulations. I already talked about some of those. It's just, the one person saying they can start fire, and the one girl having a breakdown. I think she actually had a breakdown after the challenge. I can't 100% remember exactly when her breakdown happened, but either way, the Girls Alliance on the Beauty Tribe, the girls on the Beauty Tribe immediately start to scheme and plan, and they want to start an alliance with each other, and they want to make sure that, you know, they're gonna, you know, keep the right people in this alliance so that they can survive till the end. I will tell you, if you're gonna be on Survivor, you definitely have to really be careful with the way you go about making your alliances, but I think the earlier you do it, the better it is. And even the bounty hunter on the Brawn tribe starts very quickly to go around, but he doesn't make a big alliance with, like, a big group alliance. He kind of goes through and makes, like, individual alliances with a bunch of different people, and I think that that is a pretty smart way to go about things, because he's kind of leaving himself open for whatever happens in the future. And I think if I was on the show, that's kind of where I would go at the beginning until I felt people out. I would eventually, relatively soon, try to get a group alliance, because you're going to have the best outcome with a group, of course, but you definitely have to start somewhere. And I think starting with this mini alliances with kind of everybody is a really smart way to go. So the girls, I'm not sure that they're on quite the right path with everything, but like I said, time will tell on if that actually is going to work out the way that they wanted to or not. So we will definitely find out if whose alliance set works out better. But either way, all these things are happening on the beach. Flashback over to the Brawn tribe. You've got Darnell is the strangest guy I've ever met. He, for some odd reason, decides after he helps, like, doing, like, shelter building, he's talking to people, and everybody's kind of liking each other, and he decides that he's got to go to the bathroom, and he literally goes, like, 10 feet into the water from where everybody is sitting at, and just drops his pants and takes a shit. And I'm like, I don't know. I have a hard time rationalizing some things that people do in life, because you are not only thrown into a situation with a bunch of people that you don't know, but you're thrown into a situation with a bunch of people that you don't know that you have to keep on your good side because it's a social game. How people can go on this show and think that crapping within view of everybody in the ocean, in an ocean that people are about to go out in, and I understand the ocean is dirty, whatever. Fish poop in the ocean, other animals are pooping in the ocean all the time. I get it. But still, have a little bit of decency, a little bit of courtesy, and move behind a rock, to the side somewhere out of direct line of sight to people. And I think he got really lucky, unless it comes up in a later episode, because basically a bunch of people called him out on it in a funny way, whereas he was out there doing his thing in the ocean, and everybody's like, oh, look, you're so close to where we're at. Why don't you go out further? Everybody look at Darnell. Darnell's out pooping. And he was more just like, oh, come on, why would they leave me alone? Why'd they got to call it out like that? And he's like laughing about it. I think he got lucky as hell, because I really don't think that there is any reason at all why he should have done that and not gotten a bunch of crap for it as well, and he somehow didn't. I'm not 100% sure why. We'll see how that actually plays out in the future, but that tribe actually seems to be getting along quite well, which is really cool, because early on, you often don't necessarily see that being the case, that everybody's getting along as well as they are. See, here's my fire pit. It's a big fire pit. But either way. And over at the beauty camp, of course, some chickens start to escape. As always does in Survivor, somehow people just don't know how to either, like, get the chickens or access the chickens. Or I'm not even sure what the deal is. They can never seem to do proper things with the chickens. They always mess up the chickens. But some chickens escape. And Ty, he's an animal and, like, a plant and a tree lover, and he doesn't want to see any, like, harm come to any living thing. Like, he was even having a problem that the fact that they had to cut up a little bit of a tree in order to rest their shelter upon it. He was he was a little bit upset because he feels like the tree was going to die. And he says he doesn't even like, pulling off branches from trees because it's like cutting off a limb, he says, of a person. And in a way, he's right. I get it. But I think he takes it a little bit extreme in his thought process. But he's still out there to play the game and survive. And he's not letting his emotions get in the way too much, which is really cool. But he does something that I've never seen before, and I'm surprised nobody else has ever done this because it's probably good on so many different levels. But they get 2 of the 3 chickens back. That they lost all 3 chickens that they had gotten, and they end up getting 2 of them back. So they still got 2 chickens, and they think one of them is a rooster. So one that's going to lay eggs, and the other one that's going to be something they think they can eat, I guess. He says, let's, instead of keeping them in a cage, let's let them roam. But we'll let them roam by tying their feet together with like a 3-foot long, like, I don't know if it was like a tie, like I mean like a necktie, or I don't know exactly what it was that it came from. And they hooked it to a string that they had gotten from the boat, and they literally tied the chickens up. So it's like a dog on a leash almost. And they have this area where now the chickens can actually run around, get some exercise, and still not get away. The chickens are going to be like so happy, and so like it'll probably help them lay the one hen. It'll probably help it lay eggs. Like I think that was one of the most genius ideas I've ever actually seen. So that's really cool. I hope this guy sticks around for a while because I like him a lot. He also does. He has good strategy and good instincts, but he executes them incorrectly because he got himself almost caught. Well, he actually did get himself caught. He snuck out to go look and see if there was an idol anywhere. And I think it was smart that he went out looking for an idol. Though it was really funny because the way that he went out to look for an idol is he was determined that some trees that were in the middle of this field were perfect idol hiding spots. And I was expecting him to kind of go up to these trees and start digging around the trees. He freaking goes and uproots them like he's a guy who wants to just demolish every living thing in the forest, because he just runs so fast, and he's like ripping it out of the ground and throwing it to the side and like digging in the hole, and he's like, well, that's not it. And then he just picks it up and puts it back, and he keeps talking about the fact that he's the tree guy, so therefore, being the tree guy, he is going to know how to not kill the trees and know what looks out of place or not. But he gets through a handful of trees and then ends up realizing that the rest of the tribe is coming back looking for him. So they basically catch him red-handed looking for the idol. And he admits to them that he was, he's like, oh, well, didn't have anything else to do. I figured these trees looked out of place. I wanted to look for the idol. And he even tells them, like, to kind of save face. Like, he's like, okay, guys, I'm going to keep looking for a little bit around this area because I'm kind of curious what's here. And I think that was really cool that when he got caught, he wasn't dumb enough to be like, oh, no, I was just digging around because I lost my wedding ring down there or something like that. He like admitted what he was doing to try to make it look like, hey guys, I'm going to let you know a secret. I was looking for an idol. They all thought that he had a clue, and that's why he was looking, because one of the girls says something to him like, oh, so the clue say it was underneath something, and he's like, I don't have a clue. I was just looking somewhere. And I'm not 100% certain that they believe him. I think that they are pretty confident that he actually does have a clue to the idol. And he's definitely got a lot of mistrust going against him now, which is unfortunate because that is definitely going to be something that gets him kicked out of the game if he can't turn that around quickly. And I really want to see that guy turn it around because I think that guy's pretty awesome. And I can't wait to see the good things that he potentially will accomplish in this game. He reminds me of Yao-Man. Yao-Man from, I can't remember what season it was, but Yao-Man's the guy who he ended up getting really, really far, and he was a guy that nobody thought would ever get anywhere because he's, some older guy who didn't look like he was in that good a shape or anything like that, and he ends up getting pretty far, and he's the one who gives away he won the car back when they used to do the cars. He won like a $60,000 truck, and he gave it away with a deal that if the person he gave it away to won this the Final Four challenge, that they would take him to the Final Four challenge. And he ended up reneging on the deal, and it was a whole thing, and he didn't win the game anyway. And like now he's just got this stigma behind him that he's the liar and the cheat, so it sucks for that guy. But Yao Man was really cool, and I'm a big fan of Yao Man, and I think that he's going to be a lot like Yao Man in that respect, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I still, like I said, don't know, and he doesn't know how he fits on the beauty tribe, and I just still can't wrap my head around why he possibly would have been misplaced like that, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. So either way, there's one chick on the Brawn tribe starts going crazy, and it turns out she's going crazy because she's determined that there's a bug that got into her ear. And I couldn't tell watching this thing if she really had gone crazy and was like breaking to the fact that she was like on Survivor and was like going nuts, kind of like Aubrey did, or if she legitimately had something wrong with her. And it turns out like, so she was like, she kept saying how it felt like something was burrowing into her ear and how bad it hurt, and she felt like her ear was bleeding. And at first people were like, your ear's not bleeding at all, and then somebody was like, oh, your ear really is bleeding. Actually, there's something, it seems, wrong with what's going on with your ear. And finally somebody actually does, they were talking about having to get rid of her because they didn't think that that's how she was going to be, and even if there was really something wrong and it wasn't her fault, like, you can't have that dead weight carrying around with you, and they were talking about having to possibly get rid of her. Luckily for her, somebody else ends up seeing the bug in her ear, and I don't know if they coaxed it out or what exactly they did, or I don't know exactly why they didn't like try to irrigate her ear at all. I bet that's something like you could have called medical for on Survivor as well and had them do some like more invasive irrigation with a way to be able to see in there and try to get the bug out, and that you wouldn't get pulled from the game. I could be wrong. I have absolutely no idea how it works when you have to call medical, and if there's rules surrounding, like, if you call them, you obviously you don't have to go out because they get called a lot. I have no idea. But eventually this bug ends up crawling its way out of her ear, and it's a teeny little, like, millipede type larvae, but I can imagine how, like, when it's in your ear canal, and if it was actually biting her, which her ear was, like, bleeding and was swollen and things like that, I can imagine how much pain she was in and how she didn't have any idea what it was either. So in her mind, it's probably this, like, huge cockroach that's chilling in there and just, like, tearing up her brain or something like that. But anyway, she ends up, right before the big challenge that they're going to have to go to, she ends up getting this thing out of her ear and feels 100% better, which is pretty awesome because it means she's not going to have to like risk going home right away, and that's good for it's good for her and her team. It's bad for all the other teams, but good for her and her team. So anyways, so comes the challenge. It's an immunity challenge right away. It's an immunity and a reward challenge all at once. And this is pretty typical of the first couple episodes. Or the first episode, I don't know how far this normally goes, but at least the first episode is because they got to show a lot of the footage of everybody getting together and doing all the stuff and doing all the camp stuff. So there's not usually a reward challenge and then an immunity challenge, but it's all rolled into one. So the challenge is, since there's 3 teams, there's going to be 2 winners. Or 2 people who don't go home, excuse me. 1 loser, essentially, is all that there will end up being. There it is. And 2 different rewards based on if you come in first or second. Now, the first place team not only gets immunity from the going home, but they get a whole fire making kit. Now, one of the teams, I think only one of the teams ended up getting fire on their own, and I want to say it was the Brawn team that actually got fire on their own, which is kind of funny because they're the team you'd least expect to get something like that. But yep, they ended up getting fire, and they're good to go. So it doesn't really matter if they win that thing; they already have fire. But it can be helpful nonetheless. The second place team is going to get a flint, and the challenge is you swim out in an ocean, in just some random ocean. You swim out in the ocean to this boat that you have out there, and all your teammates got to get on this boat, and then you jump off the boat and dive down and have to untie 4 paddles that are down, like getting deeper and deeper underwater. And once you get all the paddles untied, what you do is you can then start taking your boat back to the shore. And when you take your boat back to the shore, at this point, you have to get it onto a weird like ramp contraption, and it looked at first when they showed that the this contraption to put it on, it looked like you just kind of threw it up there and it was no big deal, and then you put some wheels on it and move it like it's a car or like a railroad track or something like that up to the very end of the thing, where then inside the boat you choose whether you want to do a puzzle that was based on, or excuse me, something that was based on a puzzle or something that was dexterity. So the dexterity thing was stacking of like balls and plates and things like that. And the puzzle was just like legitimately a puzzle. It was, you put together a puzzle. I think it was in the shape of a crab. And I like it when they have the choice. They said that the average person will finish all of those at the exact same time, whereas one might be better for your strength as a tribe than the other one, though, which is really cool. I like it when you get the choice. I was really surprised, and spoiler alert ahead, to say all three of the teams end up choosing the exact same item or the exact same thing. They all choose the puzzle. Nobody chooses dexterity, so I'm not 100% certain how the dexterity one would have been for everybody, because they only showed a little bit of it when they were showing what the challenge was. So everybody ends up choosing the puzzle, which makes it a little bit less exciting, but whatever. I can deal with something like that. And the first one to finish either the puzzle or dexterity, which we know now everybody chose the one, wins. The second place team then gets second place, and the third place team gets nothing and a date for tribal council. So pretty high stakes. You never want to go to tribal council first. You never want to be the first person to lose anybody. And unfortunately, somebody has to, though. So they start out with this thing, and in Survivor style, which only started, I think, multiple seasons into Survivor, when they actually started doing the fact that you have, you get masks, but every team started out with a mask. So they're going to start out with one. God dang it! They're going to start out with one person who's diving in to try to get these paddles, and wouldn't you know it? Of course, just like it almost happens every single time. One of the teams first jumps in. It's Darnell on the Brawn team. Doesn't hold on to the mask, and of course, it falls into the ocean, and they no longer have the mask. I was surprised. He never even went back down to look for it. Nobody on his team ever even went back down to look for it. They were just like, okay, screw the mask then. We're going to try to do this without. Which they do end up being successful at eventually. But unfortunately, the fact that they lost the mask, they were so far behind at that point that it would have almost been like, it was, I can't say impossible because I've seen people come back from, much worse, but damn near impossible to come back from how behind they were. Now, the Beauty Tribe finished this part of it very quickly and was the first ones heading back to the paddling their boat back to get it back to the shore to get it on this ramp. Now, this ramp, it turns out it was way harder to get anything onto the ramp than I thought it was going to be, because they struggled like hell getting this boat up onto this ramp. It looked super heavy and everything, but it looked like when they started showing it, it was way harder than I anticipated it being. I anticipated it being pretty damn easy to do. And then when I watched, I'm like, holy crap, like they're legitimately struggling with this, and not because they're just like weak people. They're like, this is legitimately looks like it'd be freaking crazy to do. So they end up losing so much time, the Beauty Tribe does in this, that the Brawn Tribe, who struggled so hard because they ended up getting all their paddles without a mask. They struggled so hard in doing that, ends up catching up and passing them. They were the first ones there. The Brawn Tribe was the last team that gets out of gets all their paddles and wheels themselves up. And not only do they pass the Beauty Tribe, but the Brains Tribe had also passed them in the process. So they were a little bit quicker with everything, so it was a little bit more expected. But that's how slow they were at getting this done. And so the Beauty Tribe just ends up blowing this huge lead, which is why in Survivor you can never tell. You can never tell just at the beginning of a challenge that something is done, despite how bad it might look for them. Hell, remember Cass in the one season that she did where she was dead freaking last, dead in the water on this one challenge. She ended up coming back and winning it. Like, there's no way she ever should have done it, but she comes back and wins this challenge. You can just never tell in this game, like, if people are going to be done with the challenge or not. So, either way, they start racing. The Brains tribe pulls ahead of everybody else, and they also struggle, as well as the Brawn tribe struggled with getting the boat up onto the ramps, but they finally are able to do it, and the Brawn tribe a little bit easier than everybody else because, you know, they're the Brawn tribe. They're that's what they do. They're brawny, healthy, strapping people. You know, there's some female bodybuilder. I think they said she's the eighth strongest woman in the world. They started the person in the world. I can't remember if it was woman or person. I'm assuming woman, but I could be absolutely wrong on that. But either way, they have people that basically are meant to do something like this. So they get the boat up there, and everybody goes to the end, and everybody chooses the puzzle. Now, the Brains tribe ends up, I can't say they blow through the puzzle. They don't really do like that crazy of a job on it, but they end up getting the puzzle accomplished, and they win. So they win the fire making kit. They win the first part of the immunity, and then it's just a fight between the Brawn and the Beauty tribe. The Beauty, who had this huge crazy lead from the beginning, and now they are like struggling to possibly be the ones that are going to tribal council. And luckily for them, the Brawn tribe is just slightly too slow, and it's because of this chick. I gotta move this thing real quick and see the name of this chick. Alicia. It's because of Alicia, who's the real estate agent. She gets up there to try to do the puzzle and realizes she can't. I can't say it's because of her. So I'm not actually, I take that back the way that I said it. She was working on the puzzle. She ends up, somebody says, hey, do you want me to step in and do it? And because it didn't really show that she was struggling like too crazy or anything like that, but obviously she wasn't getting it. So she said, yeah, step in for me. And I guess the rule is you can swap, but that person can't come back in. So I don't quite understand why, but whatever. That's the rule, that the way that they're doing it this season. So she stepped out, and therefore she couldn't come back in, but she had given it a go. They end up losing it. The camera work makes it look like they barely lost. Now, I honestly couldn't tell you if they barely lost or not, but either way, the Brawn tribe ends up losing, and they go up to tribal council. They're up for elimination, and it's going to be a sad day for the Brawn tribe because they're going to lose somebody, and we just don't know who it's going to be. So they go back to the Brawn camp, and it's very strange. Everybody's mad at Darnell because Darnell is the one who dropped the mask in the first place and kind of essentially cost them the challenge. I can't say they would have won, but, because who knows, the mask maybe wouldn't have helped them as much as people think. Obviously, you'd think it would help. So my assumption is that it really did cost them the challenge, but we really don't know how close they were to the end either when they filmed the stuff. You don't know how close the challenges really are, but you know what? They do these challenges, and they're there. It's whatever it is. So everyone's really mad at Darnell, and they're pretty much unilaterally, people are deciding that Darnell's going to go home because he screwed it up. Though nobody's really talking about it yet, and everybody's just like, hey, Darnell's going home. Darnell's going home. And everybody's making the decision for everybody else and assuming everybody else is on board. But then it really did seem like everybody was actually on board with that idea. So the Peter, not Peter, not the ER doctor. Who tells him that? I don't remember who it was that told him. Let me go look back at my my thing. I think it was the NBA player. I think. God, now I don't even remember who it was. But basically, he tells Blondie, and that's what they end up calling her. It's Alicia. They end up calling her Blondie a lot, and I call her Blondie as well. And they tell her that basically, don't worry, you're safe. We know that you were worried about it, but Darnell's the guy. We got to get rid of Darnell. And I don't know if she's just stupid, which would stereotypically, I guess, make her feel like she really is a member of the Brawn tribe. I'm not 100% certain, but she basically can't accept that as an answer and just move on with life. And granted, and I understand that she might be skeptical, and I get that part, but they go as far as to ask her, like, hey, we're getting rid of Darnell. Do you think he's got an idol? And she's like, no, he doesn't have an idol. And he goes, oh, do you know that for sure? Like, do you have an idol? Somebody like blatantly asked her if she has an idol. And they haven't shown anything. The only idol talk that's even happened in this whole episode is on a completely different tribe. So who knows? She might have gone looking for the idol off camera, and that's why the people were asking if she had an idol. I don't know. We didn't see anything like that. But instead of her saying, no, I don't have an idol, her response is, well, not saying I have it, not saying I don't have it. Thanks for telling me I'm safe, because I feel like I'm not safe, and I'm still afraid that I'm not safe. But that's going to be my response to you is, yeah, maybe I have it, maybe I don't. And everybody is like, she's a freaking idiot. Why would she was given basically like a second chance, because she knew she was going to go home, and she was the one everybody was gunning for before. She was given the second chance, and that's the attitude that she's going to have about it. So everybody's confused at like, who really should go home? Should we really vote Darnell out? Is she like playing us? Is she an idiot? Like, what's really going on with this chick? So you go into tribal council without really understanding who anybody's going to vote for. And it seems that there's the bodybuilder and the bounty hunter guy seem to be in kind of an alliance together where they're going to vote the same way, but you can't tell which way they're going to vote. And as tribal goes on, Jeff's really trying to like pull information out of people, which of course he always does. And he's trying to pull some information out of them as to, oh, there we go. That's spaced evenly. As to like who everybody's going for, and okay, it's these two. It's Alicia versus Darnell. We've established that, so they should basically be pleading their case for who should go home, right? And Darnell starts pleading his case about, hey, I'm going to give it 100%. I'm going to try. I'm sorry for what happened. I'm owning what happened. It was my fault. I messed up. All this stuff. And then the Blondie just doesn't end up saying like anything. It's like she's saying things that are almost more getting her in trouble than anything else. Like I don't understand her mentality, and her rationale. It just doesn't really make much sense. And her whole attitude is so weird that I don't know how to read this girl. And in the middle of that, the bounty hunter guy, how does this look? He's telling them, he tells his friend, his alliance, he's like, I don't know. He's in the middle of tribal. He's like, are we making the wrong decision here? And it very much leads you to believe that they're deciding they want to change who they're going to vote for. And instead of voting for Darnell, they now want to get rid of this chick, is the way they portray the thing. And they end up going up to vote after everybody pleads their case. They go up to vote, and it comes back, and it is 3 votes for Darnell and 3 votes for Alicia. And I was like, okay, obviously these people did not come together and make a decision on what they were supposed to be voting on. So this is going to get really interesting. So this early on in the game, it's if you can't come up with a person right away, the people who were voted for don't get to vote. You can only now, you do a revote, you can only now vote for the 2 people who were voted for, and see if you can sway people one way or the other, essentially. If everybody is going to now come together and vote on the same person or not. I don't remember after that if it goes to rocks or what. I can't remember exactly what happens when all is said and done. But either way, it doesn't get that far. They go back. They revote. I am seriously, completely anticipating and expecting that Alicia go home, because it really made it seem like Alicia was safe at first, and then they got the tribal and everybody started to second guess that, but everybody didn't get quite on the same page before the first vote. And when they didn't get on the page and there was this tie, that everybody was now going to vote for Alicia because they realized, okay, some people switched. Let's get Alicia out of here. That seems to be the consensus. But instead it went completely the other way, and I was so shocked. Darnell ends up going home. Granted, he poops in the river or in the ocean right in front of camp. So maybe that had something to do with it. I really don't know. But I honestly think that was kind of a dumb decision on their part. But you know what? Who am I? I'm just a guy who watches Survivor. I also have to keep in mind, I wasn't there. I don't know all the other things that went into it. I don't know all the other little subtleties and signs and things that were actually said. I only know what they put on TV, and it could have been completely different than my anticipation is. But that's part of good editing and good TV making, is you want kind of give misdirection to people. If everything happened as everybody thought it was going to happen, like Julia actually really did not like the season with Mike 2 seasons ago, because the end of the season, the last like 5 episodes, it was pretty much just Mike wins, Mike wins, Mike wins, Mike wins, Mike wins. And Julia was like, I'm getting really bored just because all I watch every time we sit down and watch this now is that Mike wins, Mike wins, Mike wins. And she was getting really, really bored with that. And I can understand why. So maybe they're just keeping things like fresh. I'm not 100% certain. But either way, Darnell goes home. I believe it was the wrong decision to make, but like I said, whatever. I wasn't there. So that is the end of the first episode. Or is it the end of the first episode? No. Because before they leave Tribal Council, I absolutely hate this aspect of the game. Jeff decides for some reason, okay, now that you guys have been in Tribal Council, here's your flint. Like, you didn't win the reward. You lost the reward. Now you're getting a reward for losing the reward. Granted, they didn't need it. They had already gotten fire earlier, so it's not that big of a deal. But I remember back in the day when it used to be that they actually made them put out their torches before they left Tribal Council if they hadn't earned fire yet. And granted, it was, if they realized that they made fire back at camp, they often would like that. They often would say, okay, now that we've seen that you've made fire, you can leave your torches lit, or here's some flint or something like that. But don't just give them flint because they went to Tribal Council. I want to see it like, yeah, they know how to build fire. That's fine. They can put out their damn torches and go back and build their own goddamn fire. Like, why are you rewarding them? I know they just got rid of somebody, but that's part of the game. And that's what I want to see, the hardcore Survivor like it used to be. That's like, if I'm on Survivor, that's the Survivor I want to be on. I want to be on hardcore Survivor. I don't want to be on like Pussy Survivor where they're just like, hey, okay, you got rid of somebody, here's your flint. Okay, you're running out of food, here's some more food for you. Like, it doesn't even show anything about water. They showed the tree mill area, but they didn't show like their water well. But I'm under the impression that they actually were given a water well, unless I just missed it at the beginning. I very well could have. But I want to see them earn their water. I want to see them earn everything. Like, that's what Survivor is about to me. And it's kind of sad that they really pussified a lot of it. And it's really like, come on, guys, make them survive. I bet you there's a lot of like bad regulations and things like that, like OSHA or something like that, because I guess it's technically for a series of time considered these people's jobs. And so I bet like there's some OSHA requirements or something like that that are making it so they can't let them go physically dehydrated and stuff. Though Bear Grylls has that show where he, like Survivor Man? No, it's not Survivor Man. I don't remember what it's called. But he has the show where he has the people go out on the in the middle of nowhere, and they're, you know, they don't give them anything, and all that is, yeah, I don't know. It's just a whole different feeling. So either way, that was Survivor episode 1. And I know it was a really long recap, and it was just me talking, and at times I was like not doing much on the screen because I'm just talking about this. In the future, I'm not sure I'm going to stick with the Minecraft format. I want to keep doing this pending people think it's a decent recap. They might get bored with the fact that it's just me doing the recap and nobody else is here, and it's just me talking about it. So it very well might not last the entire season if there's not enough interest in it. It's pretty hard to do and just talk by myself and all about Survivor, but it's fun at the same time. But I had talked about possibly doing a Redneck Island update as well as this. I think we're too far into the season of Redneck Island to start an update now, but I really do highly suggest that people watch Redneck Island if you like Survivor. But let me put a caveat on that. If you like Survivor, and you want to see something similar to Survivor, go watch Redneck Island seasons 1, 2, and 3. I know that's just telling you a lot of things to go watch at once. Like, hey, just go watch these 3 seasons of this show if you like Survivor. Easy, just watch all 3 seasons. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 were a completely different format than season 4 and season 5, which is airing right now. So there's 5 seasons total. 4 of them are completed. 3 of them were one format, and then they switched. It used to be an extremely similar to Survivor format where they had teams. Granted, the teams actually lived in the same like camp and stuff together. They didn't have to survive as much. Granted, they did have a lack of food to an extent, but not like they do in Survivor. They pretty much live in like this, not a hotel, but like they have like a dorm area where they have to supply their own food and things like that, or they win food in challenges and things like that. But pretty much all the challenges are for beer, booze, and food, like barbecue stuff, moonshine, beer, kegs of beer. Like, oh god, it's amazing freaking concept of a show. I can't get enough of it. And then the losing team goes to the, I don't remember what they call it. They go meet Steve. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin is the person who is the Jeff Probst of Redneck Island. Is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Steve Austin takes them up to his place, and that's where they do their version of tribal council, and they had to fill out the names on beer ballots. They literally would go in this like little confessional booth and like chug a beer and write somebody's name on the beer ballot, and that was how they did their voting, and it was fucking beautiful and phenomenal. And my assumption is that they got sued because, oh, you know what I need on this thing? They all of a sudden the format completely changed. There is no more voting people out. There are just challenges. There's now teams, like teams of 2. There's challenges that they compete in these teams, and the losing team automatically goes to what they call the pit. And then the winning team gets to choose another team to go up against them in the pit. And basically they go to the pit and they have individual challenges, guys versus guys, girls versus girls. So there's 2 challenges to see who wins and who stays. And if you lose, you go home. And if you win, you stick around the house. And it's only for $100,000. And this is all the seasons have only been for $100,000 instead of $1 million. But format is completely different. And there's no more voting. It's not nearly as much of a social game as it used to be. It's a little bit of a social game, but not nearly as much because I'm assuming CBS sued them. That's the only thing I can think of. This season of it is actually half new contestants and half returning contestants. And the returning contestants only were from the previous season since they changed formats. So I was so hoping if you want to have a real freaking good time and you don't have time to watch all 3 of the original seasons of it, go watch season 3 with Bucket. It is one of the most amazing seasons I've ever seen. Bucket is the redneckiest of rednecky dudes and is a funny motherfucking dude. And I cannot get enough of Bucket. And I was so hoping when they said it was returning contestants, I was like, oh, Bucket's coming back. And when Bucket didn't come back, it has to be that they basically are somehow something had to change with the contracts and the way that show is done, that they can probably no longer use people from those seasons that probably infringed upon, like, CBS's rights or something like that. It's really sad that they can make a show format that you can't even do, because there's so many like knockoff shows. I really want to see a show format that I want to do. I want Redneck Island back. It's like, oh, it gets me back to my roots. I'm a redneck at heart, guys. I'm from Michigan, and I know people don't think that rednecks are in Michigan, but there's plenty of rednecks in, oh god. There's plenty of rednecks in Michigan, and, jeez. And, yeah, I am definitely a redneck at heart, and oh my god, Redneck Island is amazing. Seasons 1, 2, and 3. Not so much season 4 or 5. I will watch it anyway. But either way, it's already like coming up on halfway done through this season of Redneck Island. That's why I don't want to add it to the recap. But, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Relatively lengthy, as always, a recap of Survivor done in my own little Minecraft Survivor world over here. So I got my shelter built. I got my fire pit, but I just don't have fire yet. I mean, I could make fire, but I'll just burn away. Guys, let me know what you think about the format. Let me know if I should keep doing this. Survivor for the win. I'll see you guys next week.